Marriage outdated. Marriage outdated. Adam, be ready. 2 in 5 young adults think
that picture is kind of selling the idea.
Yeah, exactly. With the Uma.
2 in 5 young adults think the tradition no longer matters. A survey reveals that 2 in 5 young adults consider marriage an outdated tradition, with 85% believing that a fulfilling and committed relationship doesn't require marriage. The sentiment is more prominent among women, 52%. Wow, 41% men. The survey reflects a broader trend, as 1 in 4 40-year-olds in the US have never married. And 34% of people 15 and older have never been married. 15 and older. 15 old, never been married. Okay. The rising cost of weddings is a major deterrent, and 73% of millennials and Gen Zers considering it too expensive. Young adults feel judged for not being married, especially by their mothers. 69% of women, 27% of men. Fear of divorce is also a significant factor, with 47% expressing concerns, and many couples lack plans for shared responsibilities like pets and children in case of a breakup. So Adam, what do you think about this article here? Well, like, is marriage worth it? Is it not worth it? What are your thoughts on this? I mean,
let me just say this. I think that at the end of the day, men and women are better together. I think we're here with PHP. I think you guys, how many of you guys are married couples working together?
There you go. There you go.
Literally everyone.
Exactly.
And I'm not pandering to the audience. I genuinely believe that. Respect.
But 90% of hands we just went up.
Yes. Yep. Well, I don't know what that was. But you might have saw that it was trending on social media. Me and my ex-girlfriend, Chelsea Handler, had a bad breakup.
Yeah. Heartbreaking. I remember you were emotional about it.
I'm into that used up 50-year-old lady vibe. And I think there's 2 things going on here. I think, number one, women have been fed a bowl of lies from modern day feminism, telling them that they don't need a man, go out, work, like make your money. Why need a man in your life? Just do it by yourself. And I think that's just an absolute shame, because I think that women, the number one role of a woman, whether it's...
Here we go.
Here it is. I think, and I ask married women all the time.
Get the shoes ready, lady.
Here we go.
Ladies.
I don't care how much money you make, what you do for business, the best thing you've ever done is have children and raise great children, okay? I'm looking at many women right here. As amazing as Sheena is, and as amazing as Marlene is, whoever's out there, your kids are the best. Are they not? Okay, you would trade everything you're doing.
Did you notice how quiet they were?
Well, yes.
Just recently, you know, it's been summer, kids been home. It's like, listen, my kids are not good. They're not going to school right now.
No, I know.
Parents feel it, you know, if you got the kids at the house.
And I know, Matt, with your dozen kids, you know what I'm saying about this, brother. And then I think that women, when they enter this modern day mindset of feminism, men, when they make money, they look for dependence. Yo, I'm a man, I made my money, let me go find my girl, I'm gonna have a family, I'm gonna do my thing. A lot of women are like, I'm independent, I don't need my man. So it's sort of counterintuitive. Men are very fearful these days. Why? Because of the court systems. 98% of alimony are men paying women. So 98%, not 90, like, these are very high numbers. So I do a show called Saucecast where finance meets romance, and I have these difficult conversations about prenups. Nice little plug there. You like that, Pat? And like you just saw the soccer player who hid his assets in his mom's name, and the woman divorced him. And basically what happened was she came after his assets. He's like, I ain't got no money, baby. Like, I got nothing. The mom had it all. And ironically enough, she's a hot model. She makes $1 million a year. Now she's paying him alimony, allegedly.
That's beautiful.
So I think,
Come on, guys. We only win 2% of the time.
exactly.
We have to celebrate.
You do realize that the leader's bulletin says Erica Juarez, so that's beautiful. Because if we ever get divorced, Erica's going to be paying me since I don't have anything. You know what I mean? My plaques say Erica Juarez.
Well, he just got out of jail. Everything's in his mom's name. You know how that thing works.
I'm good.
I think what society is lacking is genuine examples of what great relationships and marriages and families look like. That's why I love PBD and his family, because what an amazing situation. The only other person that I would constantly look at and be like, wow, that's the man, is Tom Brady. Super Bowl winning quarterback, GQ, stud, millionaire, this, that, the other, model wife, Giselle, hot, this, family, kids, and it's like, she leaves Tom Brady. And I say this all the time. It's like, Giselle, I know you're hot and all, but good luck finding another Tom Brady, right? So I think society, what's the Wall Street Journal article about crumbling values in America today? Religion, family values, community service, marriage. Like, I think we're trending the wrong way, and I think that it's incumbent on men and women to understand what's happening in society today and not just like, oh, Adam, you're an asshole, you're a chauvinist. No, I want to get married. I want to have a family. I want to have kids, but I also want to be aware of the pitfalls of what's going on today.
Yeah. Well, it's like reading this article. I mean, it's very, to me, it's very sad. Number one, because it's just like you said, it's a clear sign of like societal decay that we would even be in this situation. Look, the objective reality is that marriage is the best situation for children. And that should be our priority. What's best for the children? And there's something so perverse about our current culture where there's so much focus on kind of like the individual. This is one of the things that drives me crazy about always celebrating people who come out as trans. And they're like, oh, this is wonderful. You're being who you are. You know, you were always a woman and you have to live as you feel. And like, no one ever seems to go like, hey, what about the kids?
And what about your penis?
Is this not different? Well, yeah, turns out you don't have to do anything to that now. But it's just like there doesn't seem to be concern about this. And that, by the way, that's how society continues, is through children. And just to your point, Adam, I mean, look, I would say, I don't think it's just like a thing for women. I mean, I love my career. I really love it. I have my dream job. I love doing stand-up comedy. I love doing cool shows like this. I love it. I make a very good living, you know, not compared to some people, but compared to the general population, I do very well. And I have a career that I'm passionate about, that I love. That's pretty rare. It's a small percentage of society who has that. And still, if you were to ask me, what's the most meaningful or important thing in my life? It's not like career is number two. It's such a distant number two. Like, the older you get, the more you realize all that really matters is family. That's all that matters. And I think it's very easy, particularly for women, just because they do have more of a biological clock, just that's the reality, than men. It's very easy when you're 25 to be like, I don't really care about any of that. I'm having fun, I'm doing my thing. And then it's very easy to do that up until you're 35. And by the time you're 35, you're up against it. You're in a high-risk pregnancy if you get pregnant at 35. No matter what it is.
Pregnancy is what it's considered.
You're increase the risks of something going wrong. On top of that, if you're 35 and single and you want to have kids, you better find the guy like immediately.
Ladies, I'm single out there if you're out there. Where we at?
And I think there's kind of this, I remember being young, like being really young and feeling like 40 was really old. You remember like that feeling of like what 40 felt like when you were 20?
She was 28.
And you were like...
I've been 40 for 3 years now, Dave, so I get it.
Well, you're really experiencing it. But like you remember that, and it almost feels like that's like the end. Like 40's the end, you know? But it's not. It's the halfway point. And so, like, it might feel great at 25 to be like, oh, I don't need a family, I don't need kids. Like, okay, but how are you going to feel at 55, 60, 65, 70, 75 when other people have their kids and their families around them and you have, like, nothing? And, you know, the tragic thing about it is that there's no going back at that point. Like, you've kind of got to figure this out now. And so it's awful that we don't, like... How do we not as a culture like promote to young people that the best thing you can do is get married and have a family?
I'll say
Can I add one thing too, and then I'm gonna give you
the best thing for me was getting married to my wife Sheena. Best thing ever happened in my life was marrying my wife. I got married at 21, 22 years old, coming out the military. Had my son at 22 years old. Got divorced at 22 years old. Filed bankruptcy at 22 years old. PTSD at 22 years old. Babe, remember we were moving our boxes? I showed you my PTSD certificate. It went to the shredder to shred. I wish I kept it. But I'm going through all this stuff. And some of the worst dark moments in a man's life is knowing that your children just got ripped away from your house, that you have to be told by the courts when to see your kids, that the courts say you pick your kids up at the Walmart here, the parking lot, you meet here, and like you have supervised visitation, all this bullshit.
Yeah.
And when you see your child support money going and it's not going to the child, so men will look at it that way. And that's the way I looked at it. So for me, I did a deep dive into my faith. When I looked at that Wall Street Journal, this is when I started going to Calvary Church in Orange County, Calvary Church. What's that mall there? South Coast Plaza, right there at College. Yeah, Raw Reese and Greg Laurie. He was out there. They had Bible studies on Mondays, and they're talking to me about the design of marriage. I'm like, well, I've never heard of this stuff before. And so I wasn't around the example of husband and wife together being raised by a kid. Now, granted, my father was around. He was there. But typical Filipino dad, never said anything until you did something wrong, right? And then I learned how to just not talk to my father because I didn't want to be told I was doing it wrong. But if you're looking at my 14 years after I got divorced, I said, I'm just gonna do my thing. I focused on my business, 14 years. She's gonna come. Now, as a man, I felt I could wait. Build my business, I could wait, evolve, because I felt more confident as a husband if I was a provider and a protector. If I wasn't providing, if I wasn't protecting, I wouldn't feel good as a man. And then, baby, remember we decided to get married. So let's just go into our pastor's office and just do the swearing in there. Our mothers found out. Like, oh no, you're not gonna do that. Next thing you know, family comes in. We spent, how much was our budget for our wedding? $1,000. How much was your wedding dress? $100 for a wedding dress.
Save that money.
Save that money, baby. Our wedding downstairs, everybody's pumped up, excited. I mean, it was, to me, I'm biased to it, but we just felt that was an awesome wedding.
That is so cool. Would you mind talking to my wife at some point? Just maybe you guys hang out a little bit together.
The best thing she said, babe, you know what? I don't care about spending money on our wedding. I'd rather invest in our marriage.
That's a wife right there, y'all.
That's a wife.
Sheena, you got any younger sisters? You got any right. But hey, Pat.
She has a brother.
I think she has a brother. All right, I'll take what I can get.
You have a brother?
Throw a wig on that thing and trans these days. I don't care. I'm getting a prenup though, Sheena. But you said something very interesting, Dave. That you said the best environment to raise children is with a dual parent household, right? PBD, you did an entire episode about this. That the second best is actually with a single father. That the stats are actually quite comparable to a dual parent household to that of just a man raising a child, and then it just plummets if it's a single mom. Yep. What was that
yeah,
study?
that's what it was. Like the power of having a father figure in your life. It's a difference. Like if I'm at the house.
There's no moral authority, Pat. There's no accountability when you're just raised with your mom. It's funny. Me and my wife were just having this conversation yesterday. We're just talking about it, Pat. There's no accountability. Because there's nobody keeping you in check. The mother just wants to nurture, oh, you're okay, what happened to you? You got scraped, let me help you. The dad's like, nah, you got to quit that bullshit real fast. You got to get your ass to work.
I can see Angie, your mom, having an easy time raising you and Alejandro. You guys look like you guys were two sweet little boys. You listened, you didn't break the rules.
Mom, I'm in jail again. Can you come get me?
That's exactly what happened.
No, hijo, no, not this time.
Yeah, no, it's you have no accountability. You have nobody to answer to. And the natural order, I think a lot of people don't realize that the natural order of life is, you know, as God, we answered the man. A man that doesn't answer or is not accountable to God has nothing to live for because he has nothing to base his life on. So the natural order is God, the head of the household, and the wife, and then the kids. And when you disrupt that natural order of life, you're done. There's no way you're going to have a healthy life if you continue to live that way. So to me, it's like, yeah, of course it makes sense that single fathers are raising better kids than single mothers. Mm-hmm. Not because moms suck at it, it's because the dad needs to be there to have an accountability over that child. Mm-hmm. The fact that I got in trouble so much was because my dad was not there. My dad's not a deadbeat, he was around, but my dad, I just felt like I get away with more because dad was not there to tell me, hey, you can or you can't do this or whoop my ass like he did when I was around them all the time. It kept me in check. So yeah, it makes total sense. You know?
I would also just add to this, because I agree with everything you guys have been saying, and I think it's very true that one of the things that disincentivizes men from wanting to get married is kind of these artificial legal liabilities that are.
Matt, you dealt with this, Matt.
Exactly.
So there's no question.
And I had
about
cousin
that.
and kids.
But there's also there's other aspects to it as well, and I would, because I'm obsessed with politics, so this is what I focus on. But there's also aspects where direct government policies have disincentivized families, and not just the fact that for years, like say the rise of the welfare state, for years they were straight up cutting you a check if you had kids without a dad in the household.
LBJ, right, Society Act.
And this is just like, you know, and this is just basic economics 101, that if you incentivize a behavior, you will get more of it than you otherwise would have. That's just the way things work. On top of that, the policies of sucking kids into this college trap and artificially bidding up the prices of college, which is all loans backed by the government, guaranteed by the government. You know, if some 18-year-old kid here who has some 18-year-old who has no income and no assets and no work history walked in and said, I want a loan for $200,000 to start a business, you will get laughed out of the bank. It would be like, there is no chance that you could find a bank to give you that loan. But if you go in there and say, I want it for college, boom, rubber stamps, here you go. No problem sending you into debt. It's the most vicious type of debt. It's worse than credit card debt. They can garner your wages over it.
And you can't file bankruptcy to get rid of it.
Then at the same time, we've had policies such as artificially low interest rates, the Federal Reserve buying mortgage-backed securities on a regular basis that have bid up the price of housing. So you have these guys, you know, it's like these 25-year-olds who come out of college. They kind of did what all the adults around them were telling them is the right thing to do. They're 150 grand in debt. The average price of a home is like $800,000, and the kid works at Starbucks. And he's like, well, how the hell am I ever going to get married and like provide for a wife and a family? And to be fair, this is part of the reason why so many of those kids start demanding socialism. And I kind of, as much as that's not the direction we want to go in, you kind of understand where the corruption in the system has failed so much that they're like, well, this is impossible. Like, how could I ever get out of that? And they've also probably been on, you know, crazy psychiatric drugs.
I also think there's one other issue, especially among younger people, and that's hookup culture. Yeah. And I, quite frankly, have been a good benefactor of some of this hookup culture. But women now view themselves. Women now view themselves as, yeah, if the guys can do it, I can do it. And I think we can all agree there's a big difference between a guy sleeping with a bunch of women versus a woman sleeping with a bunch of men, and that is pervasive amongst women, and it's sort of ruining women's asset, right, in the marketplace. And it's
asset value. That's right.
Asset value. That's right. With that ASSET. All right. But men and women are not equal in that regard. You caught me on that one?
It makes sense why he's single, by the way. Yeah. It totally makes sense.
But I'm a man with options. That's the difference, y'all.
Is there any signs you get of the desire to one day get married? Yes or no? Any signs? Like, give me this much of a sign. Yes or no?
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.